Good morning. You join me on what is a pretty cold morning in November, and that is not the M2. Let's jump inside, I'll talk to you a little bit more. So yeah, the M2 has gone, and this is what will be replacing it. We're sat in a 2018 Jaguar F-Type R. It's a 5-litre supercharged V8, all-wheel drive, which is pretty handy given the time of year I bought it. We're currently in pretty much the peak of winter, so it's going to be pretty useful. There is a reason as to why I went for a Jaguar F-Type out of all the other cars I could have bought to replace the M2, and I appreciate that's probably quite a big shift in car. I looked at the 2018 RS5s and the Porsche Caymans, but ultimately I sort of knew where my heart was, and there's various different reasons for that. When these cars first launched back in 2013, Jeremy Clarkson, if you're a Top Gear fan, he did a review on the convertible version of this car, and I liked that car, but it wasn't that particularly drew me to it. It was later on when he drove the coupe. So I think sort of 2 years after the convertible launch, they then did the coupe version, which is obviously what we're sat in now. It was then when I saw that on Top Gear that I really liked it. Ever since then, I've told myself that I wanted to own one. A couple of years later on, when I was about 16, I sat in a Jaguar and I told myself, at one point or another, I was going to own one of these cars. So it's incredibly special to finally be in the position that I'm in and to finally own one. It feels a little bit surreal at times. I must confess, we're sort of 2 weeks on now from me originally buying this car. So I've sort of got to grips with it a little bit, but still a bit that I want to learn and get used to. So hopefully I can share that with you guys, and let's hit the road. But first, have a listen to this. So yes then, as I say, I wanted one of these since I was a kid, but that's obviously not the main reason why I bought it. There's a lot of other things about these cars that I absolutely adore. I think they sound incredible, I think they look amazing, but also the driving experience. You know, these things are quite special places to be. They've got loads of little quirky features. The air vents pop up when you turn them on. Totally pointless, but it makes it all that little bit more special when you're behind the wheel. They're renowned for having sort of powered tailgates, so if you press a button, obviously it opens and closes on the button. The door handles are similar to that of which you'd find on an Aston Martin, where they pop out when you unlock the car and then they fold back in when you start driving or when you lock it. Again, all these little small things that just make driving this car just that little bit more special. Without those things, I think you lose a little bit of personality with this car. For me, that's a big part of what this car is about. It's about personality. Like now, when we're just sort of cruising along on a fairly bumpy, uneven road, it's a comfortable, nice place to be. But equally, if you ask it to be and you want it to be a little bit leery, it will be. And how good does that sound? You get the crackles and the pops, which the F-Types became infamous for. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Bear in mind, this is a 2018 car, so it's got all the OPF filters that every other car has on the road at the moment. So how Jaguar have managed to do that, I don't know. It begs the question what other car manufacturers are doing, really, because if Jaguar could get away with that, why are we getting the hairdryers that we are at the moment? Sound is a huge part of this car. It's a massive reason as to why it's so likeable. For me, in the first couple of weeks of owning this car, I think split personality disorder is the best way to sum it up, because if you're in the comfort settings, you can close the valves to the exhaust, it goes quiet, the suspension's quite soft, you know, you've got a lovely panoramic sunroof above you, so it's a very spacious and open, nice place to be, and it is just a cruiser, a typical Jaguar. You can waft about in it, and it's a lovely place to be. But that being said, you put it in dynamic, you wake up the ludicrous exhaust, and then you've got boatloads of power, and I do mean shitloads of power. So a little bit about the Jag then. 5-litre supercharged V8, all-wheel drive, pushing out 550 horsepower. So as much as this car is heavy, and believe me, it's heavy, for the size of it, it moves incredibly well. Picture a yacht with a rocket on it. That's what this feels like. But credit where it's due, when you put this into a few different corners, you start to forget how heavy it is, because it does handle itself incredibly well. There's no getting away from the fact it is a big, heavy GT car, and you do know it's there. But that being said, it masks it incredibly well. You can put it through a few corners, and it does it incredibly well. You know, and you'd expect that for a front-engine, four-wheel drive sports car. You'd expect that, but it's surprising how well it hides its weight. So it's not a lightweight car by any measure, and the only time you really feel the weight is if you start pushing on in the corners, and then you sort sort of, you feel the tip and turn a little bit. But as I say, for a GT car that is an absolute luxury car to cruise around in, for it to be as capable as it is, it just makes it a joy to drive. It really does. And it's the versatility that drew me to this car. One of the reasons I loved the 235 so much was because I could use that car every day. I could put it on the motorway, I could mess around in it and sort of take the piss a bit, and you could get away with it. The M2, I struggled with that a little bit. I struggled to get away with being a hooligan in, because it felt like the car was too serious. And then when I tried to use it as a normal day-to-day car, it was also, again, too serious. You know, the suspension was too hard, etc., etc. So that's where the F-Type sort of made a bit more sense to me. It made sense to go and get a car that was a little bit more versatile, maybe a little bit softer, so I could use it on the UK roads on a day like today and still enjoy it. And as I say, we're coming into winter now. This is all-wheel drive. I'm still going to be able to enjoy this car just as much through winter as I will through summer. And that was a big thing for me, because the M2, I really struggled to enjoy that through winter. Being a rear-wheel drive sports car in the UK, it rains pretty much all year round. Yeah, that's how I sort of found myself here. So as I say, 2018 F-Type R, it's done 29,000 miles. I've literally just put it in for an annual service, so I might make a video in the near future about what the sort of running costs are on this, if that's something you guys are interested in. You know, obviously it's not a cheap car to run, it's a big 5-litre V8, but if you're interested, I'm more than happy to make a video on that. I'm also hopefully going to get the widescreen nav put in this. One of the reasons I went for the later model was because I wanted to have the widescreen nav, and then I contradicted myself and bought one without it. But I knew that when you get one 2018 onwards, you can easily get them retrofitted. So if I was going to sum this car up, split personality disorder would be one way of summing it up, but also personality. It's something that I've just been really enjoying sort of coming to grips with. It's a totally different car to own. I've never really owned anything like a Jaguar. I've only ever really owned German cars. It's nice to own something that's a little bit different, and it's got some different personality traits. So yeah, I'm really excited to just do loads of different things with this car and just share what it's like to live with, to own, to run, whatever it might be. So if you're interested, please let me know. If there's anything specifically you'd like to know about the car or what it is like to live with one of these, then by all means put it in the comments section. I'll be more than happy to share that with you. In regards to driving dynamics, I can't really share too much at the moment. I mean, the roads that I'm on around where I live, they're not that great for testing out what a car's like. The M2, I'd obviously had the fortune of owning that car for a year to be able to know what it's like to drive it and to live with it and to own it. Whereas obviously I'm very early days on this. As I say, I've got some exciting stuff coming up, so that I'm going to try and use as an opportunity to really lean into what the dynamics of this car are like. Until I get it on some proper roads, I won't be able to tell you fully what I think it's like to drive as a sports car, because that's ultimately what it is. It's a GT sports car. So yeah, all I can say at this point is that I'm absolutely loving owning this car. As I say, I've been wanting one since quite young, so to finally own one of these things feels incredibly special. It's a very fun car to drive, and it's just full of character, and it's intoxicating to try and extract all the different sounds you can get out of it. I'm loving it at the moment. It's really good fun. So, the car's filthy, but it's a bit of a dream come true to finally own the Jag. But it's a GT car, so it needs to go on a road trip. So in a few weeks' time, we're taking it down to Italy. I'll see you there. Thank you for watching.